Hello, good evening, and welcome to another rollicking show of the Sports 101 show. Another wonderful show. As always, we are live on YouTube on Sports 101, and then we are live on TADI 99.1 FM. If you are listening to us on radio, we will give you a number so that you can WhatsApp your messages so that you can channel all of the things that you want to tell us tonight. Tonight is a special edition. Really, we want to talk about some of the things that happened in the course of the week, and I would have a special guest tonight. I do not want to let the cat out of the lid, but we have a special guest tonight. And if you are watching us on YouTube, please invite your friends. Please send the link to all of your friends. Let them know Sports 101 is live. And then if you are listening to us live on TADI 99.1 FM, please tell your friends to tune in. What will we be talking about tonight? Obviously, we've come back from a Monday. It's another wonderful Monday. Coming back from another wonderful session of football, of sports, of everything entertainment when it comes to sports. What do you want to listen to on a Monday evening? Obviously, you'd want to listen to Sports 101. Tonight, I want to talk about some of the selected European games, and then we would want to talk also about some of the things that are happening locally, i.e., Chris Houghton, his selection, the press conference, everything surrounding the press conference. And then we would also want to talk a bit about tonight. The blockbuster thing will be that terrific outburst by Conte. I call it terrific. Terrific outburst by Conte. What do you make out of that whole Conte interview? Was he blunt? Is it the case that everything that he spoke about is exactly what happens at Tottenham? What was it about? What would push a manager in the ilk of Conte to make such emotional outbursts? Is Conte under pressure? Has he been found out? Is he bulging under pressure? Sorry. So we'll talk about Conte. And then we'll obviously want to talk a bit about, like we said yesterday, we'll want to talk a bit about the FIFA expansion, the World Cup expansion, what it means, the permutations, all of the little details that would potentially be associated with that particular expansion. And then we'll spare a few minutes on some of the qualifications that are coming on in the UEFA zone. We'll talk about Italy versus England. We'll talk about the French versus the Netherlands. We'll do a preview on that. So, welcome to another wonderful Monday edition of Sports 101. Tonight is just myself, Kofi Asiedu, and then I'll be joined by a wonderful guest speaker and guest pundit. I'm sure that everybody will be wondering who this is. When he gets to hop on, you know exactly who I'm talking about. This is somebody you'd want to listen to. This is somebody who loves sport, and this is somebody who would obviously want to join in the conversation. I want us to break the ice, and once again, you are watching us live on YouTube, um, 101 Sports 101, and then you are listening to us live on TADI 99.1 FM. My producer will just give me the number for TADI FM. So if you are listening to us on TADI FM, you can send all of your messages via the WhatsApp number that my producer will furnish with me briefly, and then we'll take it from there. I want us to start talking about the Conte issue. Conte. Now, let's go into the details of what Conte has come out to say, and then what you make out of everything that has been said, and what would make a manager like Conte come out in the manner that he has. Let me try to give you a brief overview of what has happened to Conte and Tottenham. As we speak, Conte was hired by Tottenham Hotspurs to be the guy who finally delivers them a trophy. Because, I mean, they told us, I mean, all of the people, wonderful people, told us that Conte is that guy who walks into any club, is able to change the status quo. Conte is that guy who is able to walk into any dressing room because of the myth around Conte. He's able to galvanize everybody together. And they told us that Conte is the one person who can step where Jose Mourinho stepped and failed and then deliver trophies. So he came with a lot of promise. But then, what do we see? Before Conte arrived, there was that terrific duo of Harry Kane and Heung-min Son. Indeed, I mean, I do not need to bore you with a lot of words, but I mean, if you know the narrative already, that terrific duo of Heung-min Son and Harry Kane, they were able to produce wonders, and then they added Kulusevski. And if you look at, they added Richarlison, and then if you look at all of the attacking talents that Tottenham does possess, question is, why will Tottenham be in the position? Producer, what is Tottenham's position on the league table? You see, it's almost embarrassing. And my first take on Conte is that for once he's been found out. If you watch this show, Time Without Number, if you watch this show on YouTube, Sports 101, you followed us. We did a special edition on coaches. We ranked the coaches. We talked about Conte. Some believe that Conte was an A-lister. Conte was the guy who would walk into any dressing room and be able to change the narrative. Now Conte is given the job by Daniel Levy. Conte, as is Conte, goes to the Champions League, bottles it. Tottenham almost do not make an impression. Conte walks into the FA Cup, bottles it. Conte walks into the League Cup, bottles it. And as it is now, over the weekend, when Tottenham were comfortably leading, and you expected that a coach who has risen to fame because of his principles and his methods defensively, you expected that a coach of Conte's ilk will be able to close out this game. What did we see? Tottenham almost spectacularly bottled it. And for me, he had to make this press conference because, I mean, Julius Caesar once said, cowards die many times before their deaths. Conte is a coward. The biggest coward in that dressing room of Tottenham Hotspur is Conte, Antonio Conte. And so, if you're listening to us on radio, TADI 99.1 FM, if you're watching us live on YouTube, Sports 101, I would like to engage you on what you think about that emotional outburst by Antonio Conte. I would want to read what Conte said in that particular outburst. And then I would go on and let you send me messages. I would engage you on YouTube. I would engage you if you're listening to us on radio. And then we'll try to make heads and tail out of everything that happened with that particular press conference. So, what did Conte really say? What did Conte really say? Producer, if you can get me the number for the WhatsApp on radio, if anybody is listening to us on radio, the WhatsApp number, okay, that's fine. If you are watching us live on YouTube. I would want to engage you live on YouTube, and then we'll go on to the details about what Conte actually said, and then we'll try to analyze the things that he said, and then wow, it looks like our folks on YouTube are already charged up, and they are all over the place. And let me say shout outs to the guys watching us live on YouTube. Um, Haniel Amoansa says, "Good evening, Mr. Steed. Good evening, Haniel. Good evening. If you are listening to us on YouTube, you're watching us live on YouTube, sorry, please tell your friends, especially those of our friends in the diaspora. You can send your super stickers. You can do all of the things that you do to support us and to support us through and through. Says, good evening, Mr. Shade. Good evening, Haniel. Zongo Media says, Conte is begging Spurs to sack him. Though what he said was the gospel truth. Did he actually say the gospel truth? Gospel of Matthew? Gospel of John? Or gospel of whichever? I mean, I think that I belong to that school of thought which seeks to suggest that Conte is actually begging Tottenham Hotspur to sack him. That's what Zongo Media is telling us. And then Ebenezer Tete says, watching the show live inside Botas. Oh, Botas. Botas. Lower Axim. Wow. That's in Lower Axim. Sports 101. Then he goes ahead to show all of the emojis. Um, Ebenezer Tete goes on to say that Chris Houghton is currently the best coach for the Black Stars. I disagree strongly with that. I do not think Chris Houghton is the best coach for the Black Stars. I think our best coach is who we walked away from. I still believe that Otto Addo is the best coach for this project. I think that Chris Houghton, my honest opinion is that he's the man of yesteryear. There's a reason why he's been out of job for too long a time. He is not abreast with the methods of today. Forgive me, but he was a good coach in the past. He did not really do a lot of things with his coaching career. If you look at the complexion and the nature of the Black Stars at this material time, I think that the best profile for the coach of the Black Stars at this material time would have been Otto Addo, because Otto Addo is famed for developing some of the best superstars in the game today. You can talk about Erling Haaland. I mean, Erling Haaland in his walk-away notes from Dortmund credited Otto Addo as one of the pillars for which he's been able to get to this point. So I think that Otto Addo, but as always, Ghanaians simply love to talk. They simply love to talk. So I do not think that Chris Houghton, indeed, I do not expect anything from the Black Stars. The Black Stars is always going to be the same way it has always been. And so I do not expect anything from the Black Stars. Oh, then somebody jumps in. Francis Aban. Francis Aban, the morning show host of Star 103.5. Good evening, boss. He says the contest simply wants to be fired. Leaving won't be normal. We are not going to fire Conte. Conte needs to execute this job. John Akun says, good evening, boss. I really miss you on radio. Listen, John, if you are listening to me live, tonight is just a prep show for what is going to come. If you are listening to us on Tardy 99.1 FM, I can assure you that very soon we will be competing for major honors in that space. We are entering into the radio band and we are going to do wonders. Trust me, the team and myself, Lucky, Percy, Manucho, Magandi, myself, all of the team, Lucky, like I said, Josh in the background, I said the I want to mention Ralph's name, the landlord. The landlord himself will be in the background orchestrating a lot of things, and we are going to be entering into that space very soon. So if you are listening to us on radio, please watch out for that space. We are going to enter into that band and we are going to do a lot of exciting things with that particular medium. So keep listening to Tardy 99.1 FM. Obviously, we've got a lot of goodies for you, and then we are going to also make sure that we increase the bandwidth on the YouTube. Says that Haniel says, I think Conte is just losing it. How can Kane Son, Richarlison, and Kulubzewski lose form all of a sudden. That's mysterious. Absolutely mysterious. I mean, because if you have all of these talents, if you have all of these beautiful talents at your disposal, why can you not simply challenge for the top 4 honors? Spurs are bottling it, and it doesn't look like they are a team that wants to go anywhere. It looks like they are a team that wants to run itself down. And I think that the blame lies at the doorstep of Antonio Conte. Ebenezer Tete says, "See you, Francis Aban." So what I will do now is that my producer will get me the full transcript of everything that happened regards the emotional outburst by Antonio Conte. We will look at it. I mean, if you are listening to us on radio, you can send your WhatsApp messages to the number displayed above. Yes, I mean, I'll give you the number very soon. I'll give you the number very soon, and then we are going to read your messages. We are going to love. We would love to listen to you and listen to everything that you have to say. My producer is trying to furnish me with the full transcript of everything that happened regards the Spurs interview, the interview with Antonio Conte, and then we'll take it from there and then look at it holistically. We would want to, but I thank you for the engagement. Thank you for the feedback. Keep your messages coming on WhatsApp, and then keep your messages coming also on the YouTube page. I mean, Haniel Amo says that funny enough, he wants to be sacked so that he'll get the sacking fee. Nobody is going to pay him any sacking fee. Nobody is going to. Then he goes ahead to say he lied bad. I agree with him. I agree with Haniel that nobody is going to sack Antonio Conte. He's going to be there. We are going to make sure that he does that job and he does it to the best of his abilities. I'm still waiting for that full transcript of the emotional outburst by Antonio Conte, and we will look at the details of it. Tonight, like we said, is just a test transmission. We want to test some few things. I will still be joined on the line by a guest pundit. He's somebody you would love to listen to. You can join the conversation with the link that my producer has sent there. And then I am going to read everything that Antonio Conte said. And do we have a guest on the line? Okay, not yet. We will look at the key highlights of the interview, that famous interview by Antonio Conte. He says that we are 11 players that go into the pitch. I see selfish players. I see selfish players. I see players that do not want to help each other and don't put their hearts. Let me take that comment again. He says, we are 11 players that go into the pitch. I see selfish players. I see players that don't want to help each other and don't put their hearts. But you see, we are all intellectuals, and there's a reason why you listen to the show, and there's a reason why you listen to us on Radio Tadi 99.1 FM, and then you watch us live on YouTube. See, we are going to digest. I would be very happy my producer will be able to put that particular comment on the YouTube page so that everybody watching the video live can be able to digest what Antonio Conte had to say. Say we are 11 players that go into the pitch. I see selfish players. First question I ask myself is, who makes the decision of selecting those selfish players to go onto the pitch? Is it Daniel Levy? Is it the head of the PL? Is it the groundsman at Tottenham Hotspur? No. For all of the questions that I've asked, nobody can tell me that it's any of those people who are able to run the rule when it comes to selecting. Antonio Conte has the final power deciding which of the selfish players he lets walk onto the pitch. So if this is a manager who has been able to select 11 selfish players to go onto that pitch, where lies the honor? Where lies the moral right for him to tell us? I mean, for him to tell the whole world that these are selfish players that don't want to help each other. Mr. Conte, what did you see before he selected Heung-min Son? What did you see before he selected Harry Kane? What did you see before he selected David Silva to go onto that pitch and represent Tottenham Hotspur? I think, with all due respect, Mr. Conte, you're making funny excuses. And intellectually, they do not make a lot of sense. He says that the players don't put their hearts. What have you been telling them in the dressing room? Then he goes on to say, being a team is the most important thing. Obviously, we all know that being a team is the most important thing. Listen, I do not want to digress. But listen, you look at the project Arteta has been able to run. You look at Erik ten Hag, who has been there for a shorter time than Antonio Conte has been at Tottenham. And you tell me that obviously being a team is the most important thing. I mean, what in the name of Mary is Conte talking about? Being a team is the most important. Yes, we all know that being a team is the most important thing because soccer is a team sport. He goes on to say that to understand that we play for the badge, we have to play to make our fans proud of us. We have to play to show desire, the fire in your eyes to win. If you have this, for sure, you don't go out in FA Cup today. Today you win. This is Conte in another state. Here we are supposed to do it. Sorry, he says that here we are used to it for a long time. He questions the culture of the club Tottenham. He questions the culture. This is a manager who has been hired. He's one of the highest paid managers in the world. He's questioning the culture at the club. He goes on to rubbish them and tells them that here we are used to not winning anything. We are used to not winning anything. Even with Conte, a serial winner, being here, we are simply not used to winning any other thing. The club has the responsibility for the transfer market. Every coach that stayed here has the responsibility, and the players. He goes ahead to throw the players under the bus. He says, the players. Where are the players? Who is the manager that selects these players? The players. Where are the players? In my experience, I can tell you that if you want to be competitive, if you want to fight, if you have to improve this aspect and this aspect, and I can tell you, in this moment, it's really, really low. And I see only 11 players that play for themselves. Well, I think, my honest opinion, Conte is a coward. He does not deserve to coach a team like Tottenham. Indeed, I think he was very lucky when he coached Chelsea because those players in that Chelsea dressing room were born winners. I don't think it was down to the three-back, the nonsense about the three-back. I don't think it was the reason why Conte and Chelsea won that league title. It was because there were characters in that team that were winners. There were characters in that team that did not need the influence of Antonio Conte to be winners. Indeed, those characters in that team, Chelsea, were already winners. And so Conte probably gave them the platform to be winners. But I think that if you look at what Conte has done with his stay at Tottenham Hotspur, I don't think that anybody can convince me that Conte is the man for the job. I would once again pause, take a break, read a few messages from YouTube. If there are messages from our friends listening to us on radio, on WhatsApp, we will read it across. And one of these days, when we walk into the radio station proper, we will take calls. We would want to see and feel the emotions. We would want to hear your voice. We would want to hear what you think. I would want you to tell me what you think about Antonio Conte. So we're still waiting for our guest speaker, our guest pundit, and then we will get him. We'll get him on board. Hopefully he joins us. I want to let the cat out of the bag. We are planning on speaking to my very good brother Manucho Magandi, all the way from the States, and that is the plan. Hopefully he joins us. I'm pretty sure that when he joins us, he would want to talk about Saka, he would want to talk about Arsenal, he would want to talk about the Arteta project. A very good evening to Pius Aford also. Would have wished to speak to Pius, and would have wished to speak to Pius about the dealings at Liverpool. What is really happening to Liverpool? Maybe one of these days, one of these sessions, we'll be doing a one-on-one take on some of these sessions. We'll look at every team holistically. We'll look at subject matters holistically. We'll digress the issues very well, and we'll make sure that everything that ought to be said about those subject matters. I mean, I would want to engage Pius one of these days and ask him, really, what is happening to Liverpool? So I'll pause here. I'll take some of the comments from our YouTubers, and then we will continue the show. I'm sure that if there are comments from our WhatsApp page, we would obviously put it out there and then read the comments from our WhatsApp page. Ebenezer Tete says, so this was what Conte was coming to do at United. I think Manchester United swerved the big bullet when they decided not to appoint Antonio Conte as their manager. Chia, he goes ahead to say, Chia, Spurs in the gutters for Conte. I agree with all of the things that have been said about Antonio Conte. Let me not waste a bit of time on Antonio Conte. We all saw the El Clasico that happened yesterday. A lot have been said about Barcelona. I've read some of the extracts from some of my very good Barcelona friends. They've told me that Xavi is the man to take Barcelona to the next level. Do you believe Xavi is the man to take Barcelona to the next level? Do you believe that this coach, the coach who had to let Barcelona drop from the Champions League twice in quick succession, is the man to take Barcelona to the next level? Do you think that Xavi winning the La Liga eventually, if and when it does come to pass, will be him validating that assertion that he's a quality coach? Do you think that Xavi is the man to take Barcelona back to its glory days? We've seen great managers at Barcelona. We've seen Pep Guardiola. We've seen Frank Rijkaard. We've seen Luis Enrique. Looking at what's the body of work of Xavi, do you think that Xavi is the man to take Barcelona back to its glory days? Yesterday's game bordered on fine margins. For me, in the last 10 minutes, it was anybody's game to lose, you understand? And so if you look at the fine details, if you look at the fact that they had that Asensio goal ruled out by inches, VAR had to intervene in that particular ruling. And then eventually, we had Frank Kessie getting the winner. Do you think Xavi is the man to take Barcelona to the next level. Keep your messages coming on the YouTube page, and then keep your messages coming on WhatsApp. Keep your messages coming on WhatsApp. The next thing we'll talk about here, we'll try and take a look at some of the things that have happened in the EPL, some of the league standings, the permutations. We'll try and take a look at what happened in Italy, what happened in the EPL, some of the things that have happened in the other jurisdictions. If you go to the Ghana Premier League, for example, there were some games that were played this afternoon. I know a lot of you don't want to talk about the Ghana Premier League, but there were some games that were played this afternoon. I see my producer waving his hand at me. Legon Cities, one of the outside surprises regards the Ghana Premier League this season. Legon Cities had to beat Aduana Stars. That was quite a shocker. Legon Cities had to beat Aduana Stars by 2-0. And by this, what it means for the permutations is that I will try and get you the league table, but Legon Cities did 1 over Aduana Stars. I think that was super impressive, super impressive. And King Faisal Babies, Alaji Grusa and his boys, they had to draw with Bibiani Gold Stars 0-0. That game ended 0-0. That particular game ended. And so that is it when it comes to news about the Premier League, Ghana Premier League. I should say it that way. My producer is getting me some info on the Ghana Premier League. I will get the info. I'll get the league table for you shortly, so that we know exactly what is happening regards the Ghana Premier League. The league tables are going to be read out for everybody very soon, and then we'll take a look also at the GPL. That's the GPL, obviously. We'll take a look at the EPL. We'll take a look at the La Liga. We'll look at the league table. We'll look at the top goal scorers. We'll take a look at the Italian Serie A, where Napoli is actually running away with the league title. And then we'll take a look at the Spanish La Liga. We'll do a bit of the Portuguese league and all of the other things that ought to be talked about. And as it stands now, Aduana Stars are top of the league. Wow. Aduana are really playing well this time. They've played 22 games. They've won 11, drawn 6, and lost 5. They stand on top of the league with 39 points. Accra Lions are second on the league log. They have 37 points. Bechem United are third with 36 points. My good friends, Hasselhoff and all of the drama surrounding Accra. One of these days, we'll do a whole editorial on Hasselhoff. What exactly the problem is at Hasselhoff? Is it Matic? I don't know. They sent Matic away. They sent him away. The supporters wanted to beat him. Woto. We'll talk about Hasselhoff one of these days. Hasselhoff are fourth on the league table. Kumasi Asante Kotoko, having played a game less, they have played 21 games and have 34 points. So potentially, if Kotoko does win, and this is purely hypothetical, if Kotoko does win its fixture, it could potentially move to second on the league log. And I think that this season's Premier League has been relatively competitive. If you look at the table, if you look at the statistics, you realize that it's been actually very, very competitive. And so there is something happening in the Bundesliga. Before we talk about the EPL and all of the things that are happening in there, did you actually know that Dortmund are top of the league when it comes to the Bundesliga? Yes, you heard me right. Dortmund are top of the league. And when we come back from the international break, there will be that cracker between Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich. Is Nagelsmann's job on the line? Is he a coach that is waiting to be fired? I think that what is happening in Germany is quite interesting. If you look at the German Bundesliga, you take a look at the table, Borussia Dortmund, having played 25 games, have 53 points with a goal difference of plus 24. Bayern Munich are second with 52 points. And if you didn't know, Union Berlin, I wish my good friend Lucky was here. Union Berlin are third with 48 points. And then Freiburg are fourth with 46 points. Followed by Leipzig and all of those, Eintracht Frankfurt, Wolfsburg. So there's something beautiful happening in Germany. We'll be on the lookout for that particular super clash between Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich when the league resumes after the international break. That will be very, very interesting. That will be very, very interesting. When you go to Spain, Barcelona almost ran away winners. I mean, they are top of the league with 68 points. Real Madrid are second with 56 points. Atletico Madrid, having had the season they had, I think that they've been able to bounce back very well. They are doing very well in their recent matches. They have 51 points. And Real Sociedad, another shock of a team for this particular. Real Sociedad, Real Betis, they are doing themselves very proud in the La Liga this time around. And then when you... Do we have a guest on the line? Yes. Yes, I think that we finally could have our guest on the line. Come back. We are waiting to have Manucho Magandi on the line. We'll talk a bit with him. If you go to the statistics of the Spanish La Liga, Robert Lewandowski leads the goal king race with 15 goals. Lewandowski leads the goal king race with 15 goals. Who plays for Getafe? Plays for Getafe. Is second on that league log in terms of who has scored the most goals in the La Liga with 13 goals. Then my good friend Iago Aspas plays for Celta Vigo, is third with 12 goals. Then Borja Iglesias, who plays for Real Betis. Then Joselu plays for Espanyol with 12 goals. Karim Benzema plays for Real Madrid with 11 goals. 11 goals. 11 goals. Let me pause, take a few messages from our viewers on YouTube, Sports 101. If you are watching us on YouTube, kindly note that you need to hit that subscription button. Please hit that subscription button so that anytime we go on live, you have an instant notification. If you are listening to us on Tardy 99.1 FM, know that we are going to come up with great packages for you, and we are going to change the landscape together. Let me take a few messages from our YouTube page, and then we'll come back and try to wrap the conversation over here. Ebenezer Tete says, still phobia masters. Still phobia masters. Please, we are looking for Matic. I believe that Nyaho Nyaho Tamaklo also has a word for Hearts of Oak supporters. You will hear from him very soon. Zongo Media says the elephant is twerking on top of the tree. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's talking about Arsenal. I still hold the firmest assertion. And I've told people in private. In fact, I've made bets with people in private. Very good evening to my very good friend, Emmy, all the way from South Africa. I've told them that Arsenal are going to lose the league title when they play Liverpool at Anfield and when they play City at Etihad. People have asked me, okay, so do I think that City are not going to drop any points? Yes, City are going to drop points. But if you are looking at the games that Arsenal needs to play, Arsenal needs to play Chelsea, Arsenal needs to play Newcastle, Arsenal needs to play a couple of very difficult fixtures. They need to play West Ham, which is a London derby. I think that the run-in for Arsenal is pretty tricky. And I think that those games, that game against Liverpool, the Liverpool that destroyed Manchester United by 7-0, that game against Liverpool will be a potential pitfall. And for me, the Etihad game is a foregone conclusion. They would have to go there and think about how many goals they can take back to the Emirates. So I don't think Arsenal will win the league title. So yes, I pretty much buy into their assertion that they are an elephant sitting on top of the tree. Ebenezer Tete says, glory, glory, Man United. Man United forever. Then Zongo Media says, Kurt Okreku has collapsed the Ghana Premier League sadly. West FA president in the history of Ghana football. I am not one of those people who is very interested in the Ghana Premier League. I think that the Ghana Premier League has its own demons. I've listened to people who have told me that, oh, Kofi, let's not speak a lot of negativity about the Ghana Premier League, because if we speak a lot of negativity about the Ghana Premier League, we do not get people interested in that product. But the point is simple. I think quality sells itself, and I think that every one of us today is very discerning. If the league wants to position itself in that space that people will be attracted to, there are things that ought to be done. Yes, obviously, I acknowledge some of the things that are being done by some of the teams across the Ghana Premier League. I think Samatex are doing a very wonderful job in terms of sponsorship, in terms of the advertisement, in terms of selling their product. But the question is, what are the other teams doing? What are the other entities in the Ghana Premier League doing? I do not want to sound vindictive, but what are some of the other teams doing? So I believe with our session that Kurt Okreku is one of those entities who has really not helped Ghana football a bit. I think that it's sad that we would have to talk about the Ghana Premier League in this regard. And so those are some of the issues that our listeners and our viewers have sent to us across board. And we will quickly go back to what we started talking about, and then yes, we'll talk about the Black Stars, the Ghana versus Angola game, Chris Houghton's first match in charge. What are you expecting? Who do you expect Chris Houghton to call? Who do you expect to be in the starting 11? What are your expectations? Are we finally going to play like the Brazilians of African football? Are we going to play a version of the Serbian football? Are we going to do the kick and run? Are we going to defend? What is it that you expect from Chris Houghton? Are we going to have a lot of fun under Chris Houghton? Why did the GFA give him the contract they did? Why have they made sure that they do not give him a long contract for him to be able to build that team? But Chris Houghton has said that we want to see a winning team. There can be questions on being too defensive or being too offensive. One of the reasons I told you I do not really expect a lot of things from Chris Houghton. I think some of these comments are defeatist by nature. I will finish the statement he made, but these comments are preparing your minds for failure. They are preparing your minds for the West. Because the guy is invariably trying to tell you and I that, Massa, forget about the kind of football we play. All we want to see is that we grind results. He is preparing your mind for failure. Let me read the comment again. We want to see a winning team. There can be questions on being too defensive or being too offensive. But what we want to see is a team that wins football games. Obviously, Mr. Houghton, everybody wants to win football games. Mr. Houghton, I mean, this is not something that you need to be expecting, telling us. I mean, for a coach who has been coached for 20 plus years, we don't need you to come and tell us that we want to see a team that wins games. No, that's not why we hired you. We want you to give the team an identity. Mr. Houghton, we respect you so much. The Black Stars coach, Chris Houghton, has been handed a 21-month contract. That's a year and 9 months. 21-month contract. Contract performance review will be done after December 2024. I trust Kate Okreku and his guys to do the review. Fantastic review. But wait. Okay. He goes ahead to say Thomas Partey is a wonderful player. He's currently a huge influence in the current Arsenal team in the EPL. One of these days, we are going to talk about Thomas Partey. I think sadly his story has become like Kojo Asamoah. Never shows up for the Black Stars. Thomas Partey never shows up for the Black Stars. When he's playing for Arsenal, he's a different beast altogether. When he plays for the Black Stars, he's as anonymous as a church mouse. Never shows up for the Black Stars. But the coach says he's a wonderful player. Yes, we all know Thomas Partey is a wonderful player. He's also hugely important to the current Black Stars team, and I'm looking forward to get the best out of him. I hope this is not Chris Houghton trying to tell us that he's going to hand the captain's band to Thomas Partey. I do not want to believe this is the message that he wants to carry across, that Chris Houghton, you are hailing all of these appellations on Thomas Partey because you want to make him captain. We are watching this space. Chris Houghton becomes the 34th Black Stars head coach since we last won the AFCON some 41 years ago. We last won the AFCON in 1982. That was in Libya. Another hopeful journey to break our trophy drought starts on Thursday. But you see, before we wrap up, we'll be wrapping up in the next 4 minutes. If you want to break that trophy drought, you do not need this coach who comes out with these comments. He does not care if you are labeled too offensive. He does not care if you are labeled too defensive. With all due respect, did he watch Morocco? With all due respect, did he take note of that Egyptian team that captured the African continent and won multiple trophies? With all due respect, did he watch that Ivorian team that had all of the superstars and finally had to win that trophy? With all due respect, did he watch Samuel Eto'o and his friends? They were teams with identity. They were not just teams. Did he watch, with all due respect, did he watch the Zambian team that had its captain playing in China? Mr. Houghton, I am sorry, but we are not going to break any African jinx if we go in with a manager who says that he doesn't really care about if we are labeled defensive or we are labeled offensive or you are labeled whichever way he wants us to label. But Ghanaians, I am telling you, I take my word for it. I'm telling you that the guy is preparing our minds for failure. And I think that, yes, we are not going to win the AFCON with Chris Houghton. I don't think that, with some of these comments, we are going to win the AFCON with Chris Houghton. You can label it jumping the gun by a manager who wants to win something. will not say, look at Eric Ten Hag. He walks into Manchester United. He talks about the fact that errors are meant to be broken. When a manager speaks in that vein, you know that this is a manager who is clearly here to do a job. Errors are meant to be broken. If there's somebody who had to break that error, that jinx around Pep Guardiola, and then Klopp, he says errors are meant to be broken. But here is a manager you have hired for the next 21 months. And the manager is telling you that he doesn't care if you're labeled offensive, or he doesn't care if you're labeled defensive. So he's going to be a mix of Kwesapia, and he's going to be a mix of Kwesapia and Milo. Kwesapia plus Sike and Milo. Let me take some closing comments from our viewers on YouTube, and then we'll say a very good evening to our listeners on Tadi 99.1 FM. Thank you so much for staying with us all this while. Let me take some comments from our YouTube page, and then we'll call it a night. We'll definitely call it a night. We are taking some comments from our YouTube page, and then we'll call it a night. The closing comment has to come from Ebenezer Tete. He says that Chris Houghton becomes the 30th what coach? 34th coach. 34th coach since we last won the trophy 41 years ago. Amagana. On this note, I say a very good evening to all of you for watching us under such short notice and listening to us on radio, Tadi 99.1 FM. Let me say a big shout out to the technical crew, the landlord himself, Mr. Mentz. Let me say a big shout out to Josh, the guy who is pulling the strings in the background, making sure that everything happened. Unfortunately, we could not link up with Manucho Magandi, but I am promising you that in subsequent shows, he will obviously be a regular feature on all of our shows. Be in an expectant mood. There is something cooking on Tadi 99.1. There's something cooking on Sports 101 on YouTube. We are introducing more shows, so we are going to serve you a lot more better with quality and quality unadulterated sports. On this note, it's been a wonderful evening having you around. My name remains Kofi Asiedu. Good night.